Hello, everyone. So, welcome to our next guest with Donna and Sandrine. I'm Sandrine, and let me tell you what is our next guest all about. It's where we bring the real stories of the people behind the titles. You can expect our guests to be from all kind of industry, from business to academia, creatives, and everything in between. We uncover the moments, mindsets, and missteps that earn them their stripes. In each episode, we invite people from our network, some that wanted to be heroes, someone we got introduced to, or someone we forced, someone we admire, someone with a story worth hearing. And today's guest, I'm really pleased because I'm going to discover this person at the same time than you is Gosia. So Gosia Wisniewska, she's like a senior M&A deal maker and transformation leader, and I'm really pleased with Donna to have you here. Welcome, Gosia.
Thank you so much. Really pleased to be here with you.
Gosia, we're super excited to have you on the show. And like Sandrine said, we're going to discover who you are. I'm too going to discover who you are because even though we have met before, we don't know each other that well. So I'm going to give a short introduction on who you are, but please expand where necessary or tell me if I'm saying something wrong because I've done my research, of course, but who knows? I might forget something.
Sounds good.
So, Gosia, you've spent the last, I think, 14 years building an extraordinary global career inside of Shell. You've led multi-billion-dollar ventures with a B, not an M. You've managed finance across continents. That's what sparked the curiosity in me. And you've navigated complex stages with some calm precision and empathy. I think you were born in Eastern Poland, and your journey has taken you all across the globe. I know that you now live in the Netherlands, but you've worked in the Philippines, Qatar, India, and yeah, like I said, now you're back in the Netherlands in The Hague. So we want to explore that journey with you. You're leading M&A deals, you're shaping the future of your company. So we want to know how you got there, what the journey has been like, and we want to know all the insights out of your success and your learnings. So welcome to our next guest, and looking forward to explore this with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I'm really humbled to be here with you. As you Donna said, we hit it off on one of the networking events, and it was such a pleasure to feel this energy between both of us. So I'm also looking forward to our conversation and learning about you too, because, well, I truly believe there's power of sisterhood, and I admire this initiative of yours. So, yeah, let's see where conversation takes us.
I love this level
Perfect.
of sorority. I mean, I just want to give you a hug, but I mean, that's going to be your stage. And as we are setting up, like with Donna, the stage, this virtual stage with you, we do have like this one question that we love asking her guests. So, what is like an empowering song that you like to hear when you go on stage, you know?
Oh, wait, you caught me off
To,
guard.
yes, to energize you, to bring like the best out of you.
When running, when I need this extra, kilometer to push to tick the 5 or whatever amount of kilometers, I think it's this Eye of the Tiger.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, I
which,
love that.
which is a cliche, but I really enjoy it. But outside of this, I'm a huge fan of Queen. And
Oh,
Oh,
nice.
if anyone questions, Queen is the best band in rock history, and I can have debate about it. I'm now a bit blurred, but there is actually the bicycle race
Wow.
naked but poster just behind me, and there is this super energizing song, "Don't Stop Me Now"
Oh,
oh yeah.
yes.
by Queen. It hasn't hit the top in every country. I know when I started in Canada, my Canadian fellows, they didn't know this song. They knew everything else from Queen, but not Don't Stop Me Now. Uh,
Oh,
but then if you listen directly to the words, like I'm a rocket ship on my way to Mars, I'm on a collision course. I really strongly encourage you to listen to the song and pay attention to the words because it's such an energy booster for anyone.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
and
We're gonna listen to it straight away.
Thank you for the question. I'm definitely. I started with the other episodes, but I'm gonna find out what were the answers of your previous guests.
Very good.
love that.
Very good. I mean, you casually threw in Canada there, so we're gonna go to Canada as well. But maybe just, let's maybe start from the beginning. You were born in Poland, grew up in Poland, I think. What started all this traveling and these journeys? What happened? Where did it ignite?
That's a great question. I have done it like it all went. So I'm come from small town on the very eastern border. Went to school, the high school. I did go to the university in Warsaw, and it all started during the, I think, quite typical Erasmus student exchange because I went
Oh,
to the Netherlands, to Groningen, and from there, my dad makes this comment that like you just exploded because I came back, and I had this itchiness that I enjoyed it. I really loved meeting people from all around the world. It was so inspiring to get to know them and just have bigger variety of people around you because Poland is quite monocultural relatively to, for example, to the Netherlands.
uh,
And this is when, after the Groningen Erasmus experience, I applied for another exchange to Canada. And when in Canada, I came back and then I started applying for jobs because this is when I was finishing with my thesis. And this is when, I guess maybe also Poland was very open to international exchanges and my field of study, which was investment banking and corporate finance, it is international. So I started applying abroad. And here I am. Like here I joined Shell and settled in the Netherlands initially. And I didn't know yet that within Shell I will get the chance to explore more countries. I started working in Shell in the Netherlands, and because I was really open to go and explore, I moved to the Philippines when I had fantastic job of leading teams, and well, very challenging because it was night shifts, mid shifts, day shifts, changing,
wow, what
very
was that?
Wow.
challenging situation. And I think it totally changed me because I had to change a paradigm from graduate to
Yeah.
you go lead the team when I
Yeah.
felt that I'm the one to be led and coached, but I was supposed to come and lead the team. Um, after this
But
came,
wait,
yeah.
yeah, no, because I'm also going to go with you to the Philippines, but I just was curious in, you said you first started in this Erasmus exchange and then, went to Canada. But were you always curious as a kid? Were you like that adventurous kid that was like ready to explore the world?
I'm not sure about the word because all in all, I don't come from that wealthy of background. So the first time I flew, it was just before I got to the university. This was the first
Mm,
time that I was on the
yeah,
plane.
yeah.
Been abroad, but always like by car to Italy. Um, but I think I've been curious and definitely I always wanted to learn new things.
Ah,
Uh,
yeah.
so during my high school times, I became, and what's the word? Like the Baywatch, the rescue.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah,
this
yeah.
I was good at swimming. I loved it. So I thought during summer break, when I think I could just stay on the beach and enjoy, but why not complete it and do a useful skill out of it? So I did the
Mm.
course. I became
Be a lifeguard.
a lifeguard, and I worked then being 17 as a lifeguard, which was such a great summer experience. I mean, I got amazing tan, probably the best I ever got. But it was very responsible job. But I do think that, there were these bits and pieces that I think every experience has. And
Yeah.
but then you
Mhm.
asked on curiosity. Um, well, I do think I always had a not FOMO, but I always wanted to try the opportunities that are there. So the
Mm.
Canadian exchange came quite sudden, and I remember till now that it was 15th of November, and it was like the next day there was this deadline to apply for a scholarship in Canada, and this is when I thought, why not? You know, like I was already working and studying, but then I was looking. There is this opportunity to be paid, like it was like it was fully paid scholarship.
Mm.
Go and work and do some study. It was like this entrepreneurship study with very specific company from Poland. Study on this Western Canadian island, on Vancouver Island, and for 4 months and be back. And I really couldn't find out the reason why not. It's not that like enjoying my work. I was working in Citibank at that time, but I still couldn't think of, what's gonna happen um, if I
What's
don't
the
take
worst
it.
that could happen?
Yeah, but it's like my life will continue. I'll just continue working like same things. But how great opportunity it could be to go there. And I remember
Mm.
checking it literally on a globe. It's just, it couldn't be any farther. It was like 12-hour difference. It was like exactly to chat with my family and friends. It was quite difficult. It was like 4 planes to get there. Uh,
Oh my.
but I so enjoyed it. I have to admit that.
Yeah.
And I had no idea at that time that this was the year when Canada was hosting Winter Olympics. But I've never
Wow.
Oh
been to the
wow.
Winter Olympics. But here I am, I arrived, and it turns out that I get to even see the Olympics. So we were hosted in Vancouver, which was just around the corner. So I got into hockey, of course, watching hockey, supporting Vancouver Canucks, trying
Wow, nice.
curling, which is just no offense, but it's just like a ridiculous sport of like I wanted to try it. I felt like there must be something magical because so many people do it, and just appreciating the beauty of Canada. Um, and then I came back, um, and funny enough, my boss from that time, I thought that when leaving for these exchanges, I'm gonna cut the ties and people will, what not what back. But actually, the door was open to go back to the job, which
Wow.
is fantastic because then some other things, personal changes happened. I got a call. Do you want to be back? I was like, wow. And the funniest thing is that you come back from life-changing experience, and then I got the feeling nothing changed at work.
Oh.
But I have
Ah
some
yeah.
items which are still open, the ones that were supposed to be urgent and need to be solved ASAP, and I come as a different person, and they are still there. So I think that this gave me lots
Oh.
of reflection.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. But it sounds like it was really easy, but I don't know. I mean, coming from Poland, going to Canada, there must have been some things where you were like, "Oh my gosh, that's culturally so different," or not easy to adapt to. I mean, even the what is it that they eat again in Canada? What is it? Poutine? You
Oh
know,
yeah.
the fries
um,
with the cheese or something?
but
Food.
fries with a gravy. Um,
Yes.
that's a good question. Funny enough, I think Canada is as a country is defined by beautiful diversity of people. And I found it inspiring how curious everyone was about my background. Because I think deep
Oh.
inside, I had some imposter syndromes of coming from Eastern Poland that is still developing. English is not my first language. I picked
Mm.
it up really mostly during university. I mean, have learned it over the years, but has never been exposed to any natives. So I do think I came with a bit of luggage, let's say. But I arrived to Canada and everyone welcomed me with open arms. Because there were not that many internationals. I think I was actually the star of a village because they were quite curious to find out. That's why I mentioned Queen. One evening we had a party and they were wondering, what do you listen? I was like, I'm a huge fan of Queen. And we started comparing notes. And this is how I learned they never know Don't Stop Me Now. And
Yeah,
then
yeah, yeah.
they showed me some other song. So I think that one, given the just beauty and openness of Canadians, turned out
Mm.
to be quite easy. But the first week or two, I was writing a blog because there were so many things for me that were shocking, because I've never been to America as a continent, and I know America only from movies. And all the, I don't know, just probably teenage movies with how the signs look like, how, I don't know, even the simplest, I don't know, toilet, that they have this funny paper, and in the movies teenagers always
Yes.
cry in the toilet, and like just like this day-to-day changes. And the first week I was still in a hostel, I was still looking for a roommate. And then I realized that there are lots of things which are universal. There was an older lady, and we were both realized everyone puts pajama under a pillow. Like the serious thing
Yeah.
from all. Like this must be international, but you know you use it. But it's been fantastic experience. But especially, not especially, I think every experience turns out to be special because of people that you meet.
Mm,
Mm.
mm.
Yeah.
It's
And
always the people that
Yeah.
make something really, like special or memorable, or
yeah.
yeah, a great experience. That is
I
Mhm.
think
so
the
nice.
place can make it easier and accommodate some of the, greatness,
Mhm,
but
mhm.
it can be a difficult experience. And if there is a close community, I think it
Of
just
course.
can be great.
But
Yeah.
we sense that like you found your tribe when you were there. Like when you were in
I think
Canada,
so.
you found like your community. And what I'm curious about, because as Donna said it, as you said yourself, I mean, it was a totally different continent. So you went like from Europe to the, North America, and then you did another stretch like to Asia, Southeast Asia. So what did you discover about yourself? Because this is totally different mindset. This is a totally different like way of living. Yeah, this is different language. Okay, back to the
Yeah.
basics. Different type of food. Sounds nice when we think about that. But yes, there are like things where you feel like, okay, like from one continent to another, what did you learn about yourself, or where you felt like really stretched? Because geographically, it's a stretch.
No, you're
Also,
right. And now I'm trying to think of all the experiences because there's always been a stretch, and I think it just depended in which dimension it was.
Mm.
Because often it was a stretch in job responsibilities. Because later, I always traveled because of a job. Sometimes about the local adaptation, often both, which I think it's even more tricky if it happens at the same time. Um, what I learned about myself, I think I learned the beauty of adaptation and not taking things for granted,
Mm.
um,
Mhm.
and just letting us explore. Because later, after I started traveling with my husband, but when we get down to what drives people, I think it's really always human connections. And when one
Yeah.
is truly interested in others, I think this is when the magic can happen. But as I mentioned, some locations make it easier.
Yeah.
Like in the Philippines, Filipino are just the most welcoming people on earth. They're just so friendly. The first evening in the office, and it was mind shift, so it's midnight. I'm not used to it. I'm like exhausted, and I meet my team the first time being line manager, which I think it's a out of comfort zone to start with. And they tell me, um, we are family. I was like, wow, definitely no one in Netherlands ever called a team a family. and um, and in that 1 year, I think I really, because I was so much more junior, and it was such a stretch
Mm.
for me to have a team during massive system implementation. When I was told you have 2 months to learn the old system and challenge the new, and by the way, support the team. I'm like, support, but I don't know anything. So it was definitely like a paradigm shift.
I need to be
Um,
supported myself. I
Yeah.
see your point.
but it was, because as mentioned, Filipino was so open and welcoming. It's like the first sentence, like we're family. And I just took it from there. I have to admit that during this year, I had to be a manager, a friend, a therapist, a shoulder to cry on, because they do go through lots of personal drama. We had the typhoon. You're not sure if you remember. There were all
Oh,
the typhoons when, but one important thing I do think one very important thing that stints in Asia gave me was that there are so many things I used to take for granted. And why I mentioned the typhoons, we were, and we have in Shell, there is this BCP process, business continuity process. And I used to study investigate it in one of my roles. But for me, it was so far away, just we don't really have natural disasters, well, often,
no.
at least in Netherlands. But there, at least once a year, there is a typhoon,
Yeah.
tsunami. Unfortunately, there are lots of natural disasters, and I realize like how differently you look on your life and everything when um, I had days when I was literally every day checking, are you okay? Do you have access to water? Because when suddenly the roads got closed, like, do you want to get you and your family to the hotels because you don't have access to the food? So just such a different, mindset that no, like not everyone has power. And similarly, and I guess this is a topic for like a week, but how COVID impacted communities very
Yeah.
so so hugely. Because I wasn't during COVID in India, and we were evacuated actually twice, which is another gypsy part of my lifestyle. Um, but the power outages, it's a daily common thing. Like there are schedules in newspaper on what are the hours when you will not have power at home.
Hmm.
Um, and here comes COVID. We're supposed to work from home. And my team in Poland, well, the biggest problem was lack of childcare. But my folks in India, they often had one table for entire family. And this type of turn your camera on. Um, and one colleague of mine once opened and said, like, Gosia, it's hot. We don't have air conditioning. I'm sitting without my t-shirt because it's just so hot. And my entire family is around. Just very different circumstance and conditions than my team had in Poland, and they had other, of course, challenges during this time, as mentioned, like lack of childcare. But for me,
Hmm.
this awareness that yeah, we cannot take anything for granted.
Mm-mm.
Another
No.
story during COVID when we decided we have to work from home, and I was leading the team that was doing business critical activities. So cash forecasting for Shell, they couldn't not do it for more than a day. Again, I like management like could probably just debate, but actually I had people that had to do it. So we decided at some point, because also on the Chennai leadership team, on the center leadership team, that okay, we should probably send screens to those folks because they were doing highly analytical work. But only then it hit us after talking to some of my more junior folks that my center manager had very different lifestyle that my entry job people. They said that they're
Yeah.
living in a dormitory and they don't have a desk. So for the first week or two, they actually been working with a laptop on their legs. So they don't have space to put a screen, which when we debated how can we help them, this came. So just this clash of realities,
Hmm.
how really for me it's important to understand somebody else's viewpoint.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there is another level
Yeah.
of resilience, as you're saying, and there are different challenges from a country to another, or from a culture to another.
Yeah,
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 that makes us more grounded. Yeah, and yeah,
Yeah.
it's humbling. Mm.
Mm, I think it's also very strong from your perspective in your leadership. It speaks for you that you can empathize with people that you have to lead or that you manage in the situations that they're in. And I think that's also one of the beauties from international travel, but also working international, is that, like you said, you don't ever take anything for granted anymore, because you sort of, your experience becomes this reflection, right? Like, how
Yeah,
do we have
yeah,
it when we are in our natural habitat?
yeah.
Um, you mentioned the Philippines, then you mentioned India. Can you just give me a quick overview from how that journey went? Because it started in Poland, you went to the Netherlands, then you went to Canada, then you went to the Philippines?
No, so this is
Oh,
after Canada. Uh, Once I graduated, this is when I joined Shell in the Netherlands. So I
okay.
the typical route as a finance graduate, and in Shell you do rotate jobs, and I remember, you know what, you really make me reflect on my journey, which is like very therapeutical, because I was after second graduate rotation, and I had this desire to go to our finance operations, which was Philippines, Kuala Lumpur. Um, but somehow at that time I was like falling in the crack that it was not yet official process. Some batch before me happened, but I made it happen, just reaching out to managers there, and I want to go, and I think it's going to be fantastic experience, and it happened. And I remember when I got this information, I was so scared because I checked again. Of course, I know the globe, but then just once again, let's check the Philippines. Shoot, how far away? And now I remember that I shared with some of my university friends, I'm going to the Philippines. And to my shock, some of them asked me, did you do something wrong that Shell sends you there, or you wanted
Oh,
to? And I was remembered shocked because
oh,
how can they perceive such a assignment as, I don't know, punishment? But for me, it was, "God, I'm gonna have this amazing year, and
yeah.
I worked very hard, and I had a fantastic experience. But at the same time, privately, Philippines has 7,000 islands. I never dived before, and after a year, I came back as a rescue diver. You know, like a advanced party, because I worked very hard. But on the weekend, I guess you work hard and party harder. But
Yeah, yeah.
fantastic experience. Um, yeah, so I really loved it. But I think it was nice combination of both challenging work and fantastic people around, and um, yeah,
Yeah.
around me. But you asked
So that,
about the journey.
yeah, because,
After
yeah, just a timeline. I wanted to know, like, what did you, like, what came after the Philippines? Was that
Qatar.
back to,
No, so after the Philippines, I went directly to Qatar,
oh,
which was such a different experience. And
yes.
I can't put a, number on it as like what was better or not. It was very different because but I do think culture is very different. But for
Hmm.
me, actually learning, I had no exposure to Arabic word before. And I think arriving to Qatar, and maybe I was there by myself, which also changes the experience because even the
Yeah.
sponsor by default for a lady is her husband. And yeah, this was how maybe culturally it was always tricky because here I am as a single lady. We I think we were engaged with my, I had a fiance at that time, but we were still
Mm.
ahead of getting married. So this exchange, I think, opened my eyes, but open also in a way that um, you have to get the best from every place you are at, because
Hmm.
I was getting lots of questions. What do you do in Qatar? Like Middle East, it's so artificial. And like, what is artificial? It exists. It's there.
Yeah.
The nation that is rich thanks to the resources, but they manage it well and create this amazing cities. I mean, what's artificial about it? Yeah. So then I realized that you just have to take the most out of it with full recognition. I had to drive everywhere, but the weather was amazing 8 months out of 12. And everyone was into sports, and job was fantastic. We had fantastic operations there. Um, but I didn't spend that long in Qatar, although I had opportunity to extend, and I had this difficulty time thinking, should I work? There was great job opportunity joining M&A team then. I had really this desire to join M&A, but at that time we were already 2 years long distance.
Yeah.
And while I was in Qatar, I got married. And imagine
Oh.
situation, we're married, marriage happened, we had 2 days in Poland, and I'm with already my husband, we're on the airport, and I fly back to Doha, and he flies to Netherlands because the wedding was in Poland. The most bizarre probably situation uh, ever. We delayed, I think, our honeymoon, we did 2 months later, but this was just like when personally we decided like, okay, we want to be together. But I think this is what pushed me to, we chatted, Donna, about this, no, making choices. And I do think the choices have to always work with where you're at. Because I
Yes.
remember
Yeah.
that discussion I had with my line manager at that time. Why won't you stay? It's fantastic opportunity. M&A for your career, it's gonna be great. Just 10 months more. What is 10 months? And it wasn't an easy decision, but I took decision. I've had enough. I think personally we've just had enough long distance. I
Yeah.
jumped back, landed fantastic role, and it was great. And fast forward, he actually ended up being the one divorced. And I ended up joining his organization. So he was the one that hired me later into M&A. And admitted that he's giving very different piece of advice now. That
Mm.
took different decisions in his earlier career, which had an impact on his personal life,
Yeah.
and was the biggest advocate of, I don't know, shared childcare later, and how to make it work in a very challenging environment of M&A. So very different person thereafter.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is not that
Yeah.
I was worried, but but I'm not grasping the opportunity. But I guess at that time there was a very different need uh,
Yeah.
with the family.
Different
So
And
direction. Hmm.
yeah, in your chronology, so after Doha came the Netherlands. So went back to Netherlands, and I stayed 4 years there, which is relatively long given this
I see your
globetrotter.
eyes. Wow, 4 years.
Yeah. And this is when we got the house, like we bought the house, so set in life. I really loved my job. I remember I was finance director of a company, managing rig leases for Shell, few billion of dollar of balance sheet liabilities. Really fantastic. And I think I had really different experiences because I went on maternity leave in during
mhm.
the role. But pre-maternity, it was bidding and getting into the deals. But after the environment really it was challenging. We had to look for like big idle opportunities, but loved it.
Mhm.
And 4 years already with my son, so our life changed in a different direction because of that. And came reorg. And we were, I don't think I was impacted, but it was like everyone was impacted, and we looked on what to be applying for. And my husband happens to be working in Shell as well. And one evening we're sitting there, that we could be in Netherlands. We got indication that we would be successful and with jobs we would get and with promotion. But we sat there thinking that, well, this is the time to explore. But in the family or personal life, there is a time to settle, but there is, I think, time when it's easier to explore, recognizing that we did discuss it over wine and it may have an impact. But this is when we decided that if we will not try to go to our offshore operations, which was Poland, India, Kuala Lumpur, or Philippines, we would regret not going. But like again,
Oh yeah.
what's the worst that can happen? That we can go and have adventure and come back after 4 years, and I guess some of these opportunities will still be around. And that evening, one evening, we decided, no, let's go. We made a conscious choice that Poland wouldn't be a cultural experience, like going to Krakow. Although we have been already 10 years out of the country, but it would be too similar, I guess, to our Dutch life. Um,
Mm.
I've been already in the Philippines, but I know that it would be fantastic life. Although at that time I don't think there were opportunities. So it was like, is it Chennai or is it Kuala Lumpur? But majority of jobs were in Chennai. But here comes a twist. My husband was few months on short-term international assignment in Chennai a few years back, a bit before,
Oh,
and he hated it.
oh no way.
As we actually got engaged in Chennai, so he proposed to me
What?
when I visited him in India.
Because he
Um,
loved it so much.
yeah, I mean, but we really like disliked it. But then we realized we're in a different setup. He was there by himself, working lots.
Yeah,
He lived in a hotel. Like there was nothing like to do for him. Like very different setup.
yeah,
Whereas we were going as a family, very different jobs because this is where I got to lead 200 people across few centers, and different, I guess, life situation. We would be settled there. We would have our villa with a pool. We will be local
yeah,
there for 4 years, not just few months when you don't get to invest in your local friendships and you
yeah,
end up only with holiday hotel buddies because you don't
yeah.
you're coming back soon. So we know that it's going to be 4 years investment, and that evening we decided that we will regret not going.
Wow.
Mm,
Yeah, and I'm so glad
Wow.
we did. Although, of course, COVID came with complications to
yeah,
evacuations. Let's say it mixed it up. But
unexpected. Mm.
I'm so glad we did. And believe me,
Wow.
almost everyone questioned us. Again, he also works in Shell. Why? Recognizing that India, Chennai, it's not the easiest location. It's not Middle East with easy infrastructure. It's very difficult climate. It's extremely hot and humid.
Yes.
Culturally, it's very different. And from entire India,
Mm-hmm.
Chennai is very conservative because
Mm.
when I went to a team in Bangalore, it's very much more European there, even from how you dress, how you look, how you behave. Um, and then lots of folks question, why do you want to go to finance operations? Because at that time, I think still to some extent, finance operations is maybe seen as not second class. It's too harsh to say. But like I do think that different
Yeah.
have come with different sexiness
Yeah,
ticket.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We see
And
that.
well, I can openly say it because I'm privileged to sit in a sexy seat and being privileged to still travel. And whenever I want to have time with my CFO, she has time because it's deals that she's important to. Very different in finance operations because I think there's lots of focus on, of course, cost cutting and that stuff. But I remember the questions from around asking, why?
Yeah.
You guys want to go there? Um, and our friend asked us, why do we want to go there if he hated it so much then? But I'm so glad we did because it was such eye-opening experience, culturally, job-wise. I think actually handling
Nice.
200 people and it been different levels. It was just a different paradigm for me, learning how to create organization that has the joint purpose, how to create
Yeah.
people supporting each other on different levels, managing the business critical process. So it had this urgency at the same time. Um, Tough. It's not that every day
I'm
was
sure.
easy. Tough.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
looking now back at this experience, I think that one was probably the one that, well, Philippines was the first one, and I was younger then. But this one, in
Hmm.
intensity of 4 years, I think it changed me and made me so much more adaptable and resilient.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
is bold. Bold move.
Yeah, and that is also like so insightful because as you're saying, you had to navigate at the time, you were navigating like different aspects of your life, the personal aspect of it, the professional one, and beyond the professional one, like the cultural one. Because you as an expat, I mean, it might be a learning curve from a cultural point of view, because from a technical point of view or expertise point of view, you are the one bringing the knowledge to the markets. You are the one setting up the processes. You are the one um, leveling up like your team in terms of skill set, because you have the toolbox, basically. You have the blueprint like for the team. But there are so many soft skills to get up speed on, and especially in India. I mean, Donna and I, we've been there. This is a totally different, yeah,
yeah,
mindset, different aspect. The rhythm, The
It is.
and especially as you're saying, from it's
Yeah.
so huge, like from one side to another is totally different. Yeah.
But I would add even one more thing, because I was, and I love it that you give me credit for knowledge. I have to admit, I had no idea what I'm going to be doing when I was going. So I, I didn't know anything about cash management before going there. Luckily now I got certified and I think I closed the gap, but this felt like a stretch in location and content and promotion and managing the team. But I think for me, even more challenging aspect was that I got to manage the huge community, which was spread across 3 locations. So the same process, but done from Poland, India, and at the beginning Kuala Lumpur. Later it moves to the Philippines, and it was shocking to me to realize how often the same sentence said on webcast had very different effect depending with whom I chatted. How often I was a mediator between regions because something
Mm.
was said and then it was my role to get to the bottom of what was the intent,
Mm.
Oh, yeah.
and how to manage the cross-cultural team um,
Yeah.
in an organization that has lots of things standardized, but the local life is not the same.
Yeah.
So I think that surprisingly, this was probably something that was taking much more of my time than I ever anticipated. Um,
Mm.
from
Mm.
a leadership standpoint on managing the
Yeah.
teams, especially when they do exactly the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So you're
I totally understand it. It's always people business, right? And it's the people that is like for me, from my perspective, that's the most rewarding, but it's also the most challenging because everyone is different. And then add to that the cultural aspects, and you've got yourself a nice mathematical problem there. I love it though. I mean, what a journey. And I mean, to go back a little bit to what you said before, you're the first person I've ever spoken to that said M&A has a sexiness to it. I mean,
Doesn't
that
it
mergers
have
and
a sexy label? Wait, I'm curious. How come?
actually I
you're
am
the first.
curious, like about the because like to Donna's point, what I mean, going back to your story, like what what was like for you attractive about M&A? Because true, huh? I mean, it's like merger and acquisition. There is also like some aspect of it that can be really sexy and glamorous because you are in the big deals, but you on a personal level, like because you did so much and different things, as you said, huh? What was
No, you're right. And well, there's gonna be a few aspects because I do aspire to be CFO, and looking from very realistically on CV and experiences, I do think that there are certain aspects that I want to be exposed to. And like that's why the decision to go to India was hugely driven by desire to have a community, because I know that back in Netherlands this opportunity will come way too late and it will be too small or insignificant. I really wanted to have community
Mhm.
with the people and have exposure to process. So there are these bits and pieces that I know that M&A would be just fantastic intellectually, and at the same time from difference of a job, it couldn't be any more different from community, me not actually doing the process but always having someone, like even just to
Yeah.
delegate to, being on the center leadership team. I moved to the no team. It's basically often me, myself, and I, and deal team. But at the same time, straight line to exposure to the most senior people because they want to know
Yeah.
about deals. So, and having almost budget for everything, because I do think it's a very privileged area because of the exposure and the materiality of the deals, and
Yes.
cost cutting teams. So this was my decision and drive to join M&A. I find it fascinating. I think it's fantastic. So much to learn. But I know that I'm gonna miss the community,
Mhm.
and having impact on people, having which I try to find it in a different way. I have my mentees, the graduates who are around. So I do think that you can feel your needs in a different way, but with full recognition that it couldn't be any bigger change than that was in my mind, from 200 people process in a not sexy location back to The Hague, which was at that time, I guess,
Yeah.
headquarters, a really multi-billion deals.
Yeah.
But I'm learning so much. And
That is,
for me, this is new area. I mean, not new anymore, but when I joined, it was such a steep
yeah.
learning curve. Um,
Yeah, greenfield, huh? It sounds, looking at your eyes. Yeah.
Very much greenfield, and especially that I'm surrounded by colleagues who are deal makers for 20, 25 years. But why I mentioned this, you mentioned about India and me coming with experience, etc. Actually, I've learned later that my lack of experience was one of my biggest strengths.
Mm,
Now it sounds like as if it's questioning itself, but the fact that I haven't been in the process and this operations for 15 years as many of my reportees were, made me challenge some of the things that have always been there.
Mhm.
And
In a big
especially
way.
coming new to the centers, bringing a bit different perspective on,
yeah.
asking why. Uh, Working from home was not a thing allowed for lower job groups. But then I came and started asking, I'm sorry, but why? Like, if I'm allowed to do it, I would like to respect my people and have a trust in them in the same way. So I
Yeah.
think that I'm really now reflecting, I do see the big advantage of actually having expats is often not the knowledge, but just bringing and shocking the culture and finding bringing different ways of working, which will not be questioned by someone who's just too long exposed to it. And I think
Mm,
the same is applicable um, to the headquarters. If someone
yeah.
questions why we're doing
Yeah.
this way.
Yeah, of course, because when you come with your knowledge already, your deep, in-depth knowledge, I mean, you often have blind spots, right? And coming without that knowledge, you can be curious. And I think this curiosity, we keep coming back to it. It's so you. Are we saying that correct? That you are very curious?
I think so. I do love learning, and I think it's come curiosity.
Yeah.
I just like puzzles and figuring things out and solutions. Um,
Yeah.
I remember how when I was, learning, I had this go see process in India when Tim was introducing to me the process. Was asking, but why? And later it came back as a very positive feedback that wow, you were not afraid to ask and dig and which I guess at some point I felt ashamed of asking some of the basic questions, but I was so glad that it came back as a we like it that you want
Mm,
that you were not afraid to ask it if you didn't know.
hmm.
Yeah.
Very cool. Would you say that, what would you say actually to people that are early in their career that are thinking about maybe, looking at an international opportunity? Would you say that's a good thing, or would you say,
I would say
think
go
about
for
it?
it. Like I even used to laugh at what was it at some point that if I'm offered a job in Oman, I'm like I can be on a plane right now. Like things we can get sorted later. So I had like these dream locations. I think it's such an eye-opening opportunity, personally, culturally, job-wise. But I would add to it, it's easy to go for a sexy job and sexy location, but I do think that it's so important, especially at the early of career, to like my colleague used to say that get a bit of dirt behind your nail,
Mm-hmm.
like to do a bit of background work, maybe systems, maybe
Yeah.
setup, maybe some data, but not as mentioned. Like I think M&A is considered sexy because it gives exposure and big topics. Uh, but in the long term, you have to also understand the basics, how things work, how to get the work ethics correctly. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
So to anyone, I would say go for it, but do not dismiss the less sexy jobs,
Right.
because
That's
that could be a wrong perception of it. And what you're going to get from these jobs will often benefit you so much more than exposure to the sexy area, sexy business, a business which is currently in hype. Um, yeah, go for system implementation in a great location. And I do think it can end up be life changing because of people you meet, about what you're going to learn. It's such a fantastic opportunity if one has.
Yeah, there is
I
so
love
much.
it.
Yeah, no, it's great, and there is so much beauty also in challenging yourself, like you're saying, your limited beliefs, also by going for the not so sexy jobs. I mean, this is so valuable. You were talking about Shell. That reminds me of my years at Total. When I moved to Germany originally, it was for Total for um, controlling, so in the financial team. So that was not really my dream job, but at the end of the day, yeah, all paths lead to Rome. Moving back to what you said, you just gave us like a sneak peek to Donna and I about you mentoring people. You said yes, and I can also find fulfillment. I mean, in other ways, like it could be a side of my job. And then you mentioned like, and then that caught my attention, like mentees, and we know that you're involved also in some ways, like in women networks or women circles. Can you tell us more about it?
Yeah, of course. And this is something which I find very passionate about. I created the Women in Dealmaking Network. I'm very proud of it. It's fantastic.
Congrats.
Recognizing that M&A is very male dominant
Mm.
area, next to oil and gas being quite male dominant.
Mhm.
And there is Shell has agenda for driving diversity and inclusion, but certain jobs just simply don't attract enough women. I do think there is a massive value in having different voices in the room. Some of the bad deals, I truly believe, would not be done if there would be more ladies on the team. So I'm convinced about it. So we started. I started the network of women in deal making. So we want to create sisterhood, really a group of support on the way to challenge and get support, get the inspiration, but also because we're attracting alumni and potential, so you don't have to be in deal making to be in the network, but find potential new recruits that would have a chance to ask, is it really that tough?
Right.
Or how to make it workable for me in that and that situation. Um, how to bring it. So love it. And when you Donna asked me when we were chatting, and later reflected that somehow the women network tends to be a bit of common threat to me, because when I started reflecting that I was the treasurer on the board for Polish women in the Netherlands, when I was in Netherlands, and then I created senior women network in the Philippines, where, funny
Mm.
enough, I was too junior to join, but I created it, and then I kind of handed it over. But my realization when I came there was, when 70% of your workforce are women, how come the percentage of it on the top leadership is like 10?
Right.
I think it's like that for me, just something's wrong. In Qatar, I was busy in downstream in other businesses. So this is something that I'm very passionate about. But I really think that we need more connects to support each other, because in the environment and businesses environment where there are few ladies, we hear of stories that maybe there isn't enough of support because everyone's a competition. I think if there is enough of a movement, um, creating sisterhood and support, everyone's gonna benefit, both the ladies who made it to the top, but making sure that there is always a candidate ready to follow them.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Um, yeah,
That's powerful stuff. That's very powerful, and I think more people are starting to see that. Funny enough, we had another interview where we came, and eventually we came to that same conclusion. It's like we have to empower each other more, but also make it actionable and really push things forward. That's very interesting. What I think is commendable is that it sounds like you've really architected your career, right? You have it hasn't been linear. I mean, yes, you started out as a finance director, but then you did all these different things along the way in various places to actually create the best part of yourself. You understand in your industry, you understand pretty much every aspect. You've managed people, and it's also the advice that you give, right? Getting a little bit of the dirt under your nails when you think about going across. What is next? So what's next on your journey? What's the next puzzle piece that you're working on?
Whew, what's the next puzzle? As mentioned, I am aspiring to be in the CFO position, either CFO of specific business or division. So I'm getting experience right now to be exposed to huge decision making, to make sure that
Right.
for my next positions where I will be able to take quality decisions and investment decisions. But ultimately, I am finance person and I'm driven by hugely the CFO type of role, GM type of role. So I'm looking forward to the CFO position of the specific divisions or businesses. And
Nice.
M&A experience, I see how CFO, because you Sandrine mentioned the controller. I think like CFO captures it all, where investment decisions come into play,
Yeah.
controllers come into play, where processes need to work, and you need to have community working for you. And I love the fact that I look at my career and I do think that I'm bringing, like, every experience brings this puzzle, but eventually and me being finance director and on board of directors, that eventually it matches the piece. Um and yeah, I'm just looking forward to what's next. Although I don't know yet. I'm trying to I'm working on manufacturing the next role, but with full recognition that mm whereas in the old days I think the careers used to be much more managed. Right now, I think at least in my company, there's much less HR involvement and proactive management in the careers. A lot is opportunistic, but I don't think it's a bad thing as long as one grabs the opportunities that are there. Like your question on the international assignment. If one is given an opportunity to go internationally, as long as privately it works, go for it.
Mm, beautiful.
You-
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, we can continue talking for hours, but I think we always try to keep it around an hour, and we've already got so many insights from you. So, I don't know, Sandrine, do you have maybe like a final question for Gosia?
I mean, that was lovely discussing with you because you make it also really inspiring for people who would love to just to dare and just go abroad and maybe experience like what is global strategy or an international experience and maybe challenge their sense of home. Also, like the fact that you're talking about community can have like different definition, different meanings. And this is like the way that you describe it, like can be different, like from one country to another or from one part of your life experience. You said, oh, okay, this is when I was young. And now this is like when I was married and now like with kids. So it was really rich and also like the sense of mentorship also that you're carrying. So thanks a lot for that.
No,
Was
thank you.
lovely listening to you.
Thank you so much. And it's been pleasure for me. I actually would like to get to know you both more. I know that
Stay tuned.
there's gonna be an opportunity, but it's been pleasure.
But when Sandrine is in the Netherlands and you are also in the Netherlands, maybe we'll join you in one of your women in deal making get-togethers,
With
and
pleasure.
we can all have a chat.
I would love it. You would be very, very welcome as special guest.
Thank you, Gosia.
Thank
That
you.
was a pleasure.
Thank you,
But
Gosia.
thank you.
It was our pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for watching, and see you next time. Bye.
Bye. See you.